Hey guys, it's a Banana Man here. Today we're doing some subreddits. We're doing Reddit nosleep. I've been browsing Reddit a lot recently, and I found this, and I was like, oh my god, I love it. I decided to do a video on it, so I'm just gonna read the stories, and then, yeah. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna start out. It was supposed to be a routine medical procedure. I do a lot of things I shouldn't. Case in point, I kept practicing medicine after I lost my license. Thing is, money's tight and bankruptcy won't kill student loans, so I kept working in an unofficial capacity. Nothing major, consultation, minor surgeries, and procedures. Eventually, I got hired by an organization that pays me a fortune for my skill in silence. Yesterday, I was granted the extremely dangerous privilege of treating the boss's daughter. This wasn't a little girl. This was a fully grown woman who'd spent her adult life protecting her father's interests in Croatia. She was tough. The fact that she needed help, especially mine, should have been a clear indicator that something was very wrong. But her symptoms were pretty mundane. She couldn't eat, complained of upper abdominal pain, threw up often, had trouble eating, and suffered constant fever. I told my boss an endoscopy, I don't know, was his best bet. It's not exactly my specialty, but I know more than enough to get it done. Or so I thought. Routine endoscopies are supposed to take about 20 minutes. We were going on 45 minutes, with no end in sight. For the 10th time, my patient moaned through a mouthful of scope and shifted. My nurse pinned her down. The esophagus is surprisingly delicate. One wrong move, and the scope easily punctures it. I already scraped the heck out of her trachea after she started thrashing around 2 minutes into the procedure. I'd already sedated her past the allowable limit. She shouldn't have been close to consciousness. After a minute, she settled down again, still moaning. The nurse gently squeezed her hand. I pushed the scope further down. An inflamed nightmare of esophageal tissue filled up the display screen. The girl was sick. Every inch of her esophagus was puffy, pale. Blood-rimmed lesions abounded. Some of the tissue looked gouged, like she had a little lumberjack chopping away inside her. Toward the end, we found a particularly massive lesion. A half globe of the size of a quarter. It leaked pus in a runny yellow fluid. No wonder she'd had so much trouble. It was an absolute miracle she'd managed to swallow anything solid at all. The patient jerked to the side. I momentarily lost control of the scope, which punched against the lesion. I froze, fully expecting it to rupture. If it happened, she could die. And so would I. But no. There, in clean view of the scope's bright light, the lesion rose on several spindly white legs and scurried down the esophagus. The nurse gasped. I couldn't even draw a breath. The lesion repunctured inflamed tissue with all 8 legs and settled down, leaving a large hole in its wake. The hole was too round, too neat, and far too dark. Blackness radiated from it. Perforations typically had to have a shallow quality to them. You can see the damage both within and around the perforation. Here, though, nothing but an inflamed rim in total darkness. It might as well have been a black hole. Suddenly, that swollen rim shifted, stretching and distorting. A glistening white dome bubbled from the hole. Call an ambulance, I said. We can't. The nurse looked incredibly pale under the lights, sallow, exhausted. The white dome exited the hole on several legs and scurried up the esophagus. The patient choked and writhed. I held her down with one hand and held the scope with another. Call it frickin' ambulance. The girl kept thrashing, causing the camera to hit several lesions. They all got up and moved, revealing more of those terrible holes. No, not holes. Portals. The scope's retreating light illuminated dozens of white parasites erupting from the esophagus, like termites from wood. "Call now," I screamed. The nurse ran from the room. Finally, the scope came out. Long tube coated with a vicious mixture of fluids. The patient gagged up a flood of blood, pus, and a watery yellow liquid. Then came the bugs. Enormous, white, quivering blobs, cascading over her chin, down the bed, across the floor. I reared back, accidentally crushing several. They felt like water balloons under my shoes. They popped easily, sending insane geysers of glimmering white fluid all over across the room. The patient's stomach bulged dangerously. I could just see it, dozens of bugs congesting her tract, forcing each other back into her stomach. She was drenched with sweat and white as a sheet, of course. No doubt she was hemorrhaging internally. Her eyes drifted to me. Tears squeezed from the corner and dripped into her ears. Through her open mouth, I saw a pulsating cluster of glistening bugs. All at once, her jaw broke with a dim, white crack, and they exploded from her mouth, splitting the skin of her cheeks to ribbons. One hit my face and exploded, sending horrifyingly sweet liquid into my mouth. I ran out of the room and slammed the door. Long story short, I left town. Maybe I'm not giving my boss enough credit, but honestly, I know him pretty well. He trusted me with his daughter, and I let her die. The specifics won't matter. If he finds me, I'm dead. It's alright, really. These are the risks you take when you do what I do. At least I have money. I'm actually looking forward to my freedom. Or would be, if it weren't for one thing. My stomach hurts, from gut to shoulder. Everything aches. And I can't keep anything down. I keep thinking of that bug that exploded on my face, the fluid that got in my mouth. I already know an endoscopy won't help. Not like I could get anyway, given the circumstances. Sometimes chest and stomach pain are delayed stress reactions. I hope that's the case. If not, guess I'll have to content myself with a can of bug spray. Oh dang. This just became this is kinda creepy. Alright. Well, that was fun. That was a good one. Alright. Let's go back. Daddy, there's a man behind you. No, that's the wrong thing. Alright. Right now, I'm sitting in a hotel in New York City. And let me be straight with you guys. I hate it here. There's a siren every 5 minutes, a dog barking next door, and some guy on the sidewalk ranting about bedbugs. That's why I decided to Skype with my family tonight. After mistyping the Wi-Fi password 100 times and making the bed again after checking for bedbugs, yeah, that guy got to me. I finally gave them a call. Immediately I felt better. I heard all those sounds from home, our terrier barking, Samantha squealing with delight, and baby Theo babbling up a storm. The noise drowned out the cold, crazy sounds of the city, and I smiled. Here, let me put Samantha on, my wife, Ginny said. She misses you so much. She walked out of frame, and Samantha's head poked up over the table. Daddy, Daddy. Hi, sweetheart. I made a frowny face. Poor Daddy has to stay alone in a hotel tonight for work. Silly Daddy, you're not alone, Samantha said, giving me one of her big, toothy grins. There's a man standing right behind you. I froze. What did you say? There's a man behind you. I whipped around, but the hotel room was empty, and all I saw was a bright lamp, the empty armchair, the comforter, and a tangled lump. He's hiding now, she giggled. Samantha, what are you talking about? She just laughed and smiled again. You're being silly, Daddy. Put Mom back on. Ginny ran back into view, a large glob of spit up on her t-shirt. Danny, I'm trying to feed Theo, she said. Why was so important that Samantha said she saw someone standing behind me? Oh dear. Samantha shook her head as she bounced Theo on her lap. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. She's been going on and on about some imaginary friend recently. I already asked Dr. Marks about it. She said it's totally normal, just a phase. My heart began to slow. She'd scared me for a second there, I said, starting to laugh. Oh, I know. She scares me all the time with it. Talks to herself in the playroom, tells Theo about him. It's crazy. She snorted. Did you ever think our kids would be this weird? No, I didn't. Alright, well, I should get back to it. Talk to you tomorrow? Of course. I closed the laptop with a click. Out of the window, cars whizzed by, streaks of red and white against the blue of dusk. I looked around the empty room, at the beige carpet and the pulled curtains. It finally looked inviting, now that my heart was full. I got up and walked towards the bed. The comforter was crumpled in a heap, pushed to the corner of the bed, and the sheets were wrinkled and pushed. What a mess, I thought, reaching for the comforter. I froze. Wait. After I checked for bed bugs, I remade the bed. I took a step back, and that's when I noticed, sticking out from the edge of the comforter, the shiny black tip of a shoe. Dang, imagine that. Bedbugs are a real horror. Jeez. Oh my god. Alright. Yeah. I like this one. Man, you're lucky your daughter noticed. You'd probably have climbed in and snuggled up before remembering you don't have a gay lover. r/suddenly gay. I need to check that out. No, that should be another video. Alright. Let's see here. Another one. Exorcism of an Angel. Oh, dang. It sounds like it could be a good one. Alright. Okay. There is no greater curse than the possession of a demon, nor greater honor than the visitation of an angel. God has blessed our home with His presence, and I am nothing but grateful for the miracle which has occurred. And yet, I trembled as I write this, because through this trial we have learned one lesson most truly of all. His delight is not in the strength of a horse, nor his pleasure in the legs of a man, but the Lord takes pleasure in those who fear Him. Psalm 147:10-11. To fear God does Him as much honor as to love Him, for both are equal expressions of belief. God does not give us the choice of which laws to follow. The comforts of modern life have seduced men into a pitiful state of moral lassitude, but our families does not compromise on our beliefs. Righteousness can be feigned for the sake of impressing one's neighbors, but the truth of our souls cannot be hidden from God. I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man. She must be silent. 1 Timothy 2:12. But the insolent girl would not be silent before my husband, not until I struck her. First she howled, then she whimpered, and then she was still. How beautiful the fear of God had made my child. Elizabeth was only 6 when she turned from the path. She spoke when she was not addressed. Lies flowed from her mouth as naturally as truth. She refused to pray, and she showed no shame at drawing blasphemous monsters and images which did nothing to glorify God. My husband Luke and I prayed for her every night. The Lord knows that a child understands the weight of a cane more keenly than any word. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod correction shall drive it far from him. Prov. 22:15. Her high-collared dress hid the marks, and for a time Elizabeth showed enough respect for her parents not to speak against us. I should have listened to Luke and not sent her to that public school where her mind could be further polluted by the unfaithful. Her rearing was impeccable, so there's no other way I can explain the filth which began spewing from her mouth. "I don't want to go," she said last Sunday morning while I dressed her for church. "I hate him. I hate God." "God loves you," I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. "No, he doesn't. God hates me too." "Why would you say such a thing?" I asked. "Because he made you my mom." Oh, jeez, it's messed up. We didn't go to church that day. After Luke heard what she said, she was in no condition to go anywhere. The Lord knows I wept as much as Elizabeth did. It couldn't go on like this, I told myself. Luke thought that she would learn in time, but I wasn't strong enough to endure her lessons. I cleaned my daughter's wounds and made her comfortable, but her blood was still on my hands when I prayed that night. "Where did we go wrong?" I begged from the quiet. "Oh God, if you truly love us as we love you, send us an angel to grant us the happiness we deserve." I could see the light through my closed eyes, and I knew that the Spirit was with me then. I felt his warmth on my hands and face. I dared not look, or speak, or even breathe, afraid to disrupt the miracle in progress. For one divine moment, I knew my prayers were answered, and I was in heaven. The next moment, I heard Luke shout, "Fire!" Smoke was billowing under our bedroom door. The hallway was an inferno, flames gutting between the floorboards, climbing the walls, igniting the pictures and the wooden crucifixes pounded into the walls. I staggered towards Elizabeth's room, coughing and falling to my knees to crawl under the smoke. Luke grabbed me under my arms and heaved me toward the front door, but I kicked and fought him the whole way. "Elizabeth, she's still in there." The Lord preserve her," Luke said, uncompromising as always. I was dizzy from the smoke, and I wasn't strong enough to fight off Luke. Before I knew what was happening, I was panting and heaving on our front lawn while the house burned. "Elizabeth," I'd screamed through my ragged throat. "Elizabeth, where are you?" Luke wouldn't let me go back in. I was screaming and crying hysterically, but he forced me to the ground and held me there until the fire department came. If Elizabeth was crying for us, I couldn't hear her over the roaring flames. Maybe she stayed quiet, though, more afraid of us than the fire. Luke prayed while the firemen battled the blaze. I didn't, knowing my prayers had already been answered. This is the happiness we deserved. 3 strong men entered the house when the exterior had been dozed, veterans in full gears with masks and oxygen tanks. Elizabeth had nothing, and sore as she was from her punishments, I don't know if she could have escaped that house even without the fire. 3 men exited their house, their arms empty. Elizabeth was barefoot and walking unassisted between them. Her face was clear, unmarked from soot, her breathing slow and even. Her skin was pure white, unmarked by injury or burn. "A miracle," Luke had said. "A miracle." The firemen were quick to agree. "A curse," I wasn't brave enough to reply. We all stayed in a hotel that night. Luke was so exhausted from the ordeal that he slept soundly, but I couldn't help to lie awake but lie awake and listen to Elizabeth whispering to herself. She was traumatized. Her reasoning said she was trying to process what would happen and needed me to hold her and tell her it's gonna be okay. I almost got up a dozen times in the night to comfort her, but each time my muscles locked from some nameless instinct as old as fear itself, which begged me not to approach the mumbling girl. Elizabeth is a good girl, I heard her whisper. Elizabeth will not punish them. I pretended to be asleep, trying to match my husband's deep breathing. I couldn't get enough air, though, and my involuntary gasps must have betrayed me because Elizabeth would sometimes sit rigidly up and stare at me in the darkness. I watched her through slitted eyes, not daring to move. Elizabeth prayed too, you know. The girl was obviously speaking to me, but all I could do was lie there and keep breathing. Do you know what she prayed for? I clenched my eyes tight. I felt so stiff that I might as well be dead. I didn't hear anything else, but I was too scared to look. A full minute before the silence became too loud, and when I opened my eyes again, the girl was standing right beside my bed. I jerked upright, hopelessly tangling the covers in my surprise. Luke woke with a start and flailed around the nightstand until he turned on the lamp. What is it? What's going on? Elizabeth was back in her bed, rigidly upright, just staring at me and smiling. I forced a smile in return. Nothing's the matter. We're all okay now. Get some sleep, Elizabeth. Luke grunted and turned the lights back off, rolling his back toward me. Good night, lady, Elizabeth said. I don't know how many hours it took me to fall asleep after that, but I never saw Elizabeth lie down the whole time. Over the next few days, the insurance inspectors concluded that it was an electrical fire, although there was so little information in the report that it seemed more like a speculation to me. Elizabeth hasn't given us any trouble since. She's mild and dutiful in her behavior and her prayers. She still loves to draw, but the serene and passionless faces she repeats over and over are far more disturbing than the monsters she used to decorate the pages with. Luke couldn't be happier, of course. He got the perfect little angel he always wanted. He doesn't seem to realize that we've always had an angel, or that somehow she didn't make it out of that fire. She's watching me as I write this, smiling and swinging her feet, but I don't care. She may even read this if she likes. It doesn't matter. God already knows there's more divinity in an imperfect child than all the angels in heaven. I worship him with my fear now, so if that truly pleases the Lord, let him hear me and send my daughter home. But she's giggling now, so perhaps he has other plans for me. Clicked on more, but nothing's happening. Oh, jeez. Oh, no, this is dumb. Get out of here. Alright, well, that was pretty creepy. I mean, that was messed up. I knew when she came out. Oh, I don't even know what that is. I knew when she came in, or she came out untouched with the fireman, I knew she died, and that was some freaking demon or angel or whatever. And then when she started talking to herself in the night, dude, that was kind of creepy, not gonna lie. Alright, a letter to my father, or my sister was a feral child. I like that one. I like the sound of it. Alright. My grandparents raised my cousins and me. Grandpa said our respective mothers abandoned us. Luckily, he was there to swoop in and save us all. Even back then, I didn't believe my grandparents were good people. Why else would all their daughters have abandoned their kids? Just a sad thing all around. sins of the father and all that. But I did my best to fill the void for my cousins. There were 9, a mixture of daughters and sons from different mothers. I was the first and oldest. The rest trickled in over the next several years. Most came to us as infants. A couple were toddlers. Everybody had a sibling but me. I took over the parenting duties. Grandpa was a short haul trucker and wasn't home much. Even when he was, he spent all his time out in the woods. We lived in the edge of a national park. As an avid outdoorsman, he spent more nights camping than he did in the house. As for Grandma, she didn't do anything except pop prescription pills in her dark bedroom and watch TV. Sometimes she made us all crowd in to watch with her. It was a lot worse than it sounds. Grandpa homeschooled us. Well, kind of. He gave me lessons until I was 12. Then he made me teach the others. Grandpa had weird ideas about religion and how people should behave. Mostly, it had to do with kids. He made me memorize what he called his overarching ideology. It was simple. Men are the head of house and earth. Men and women understand that children are more important than anything else. Making children is the only true path to salvation. It all sounded like human sacrifice to me, so I never taught it to my cousins. Grandpa spent so much time in the forest that he never knew the difference. Now, I knew that caring for my cousins was a good thing, but it was all I ever did. I don't think I knew how to be anything else. I was starting to resent them for it, which wasn't fair. They were blameless. So was I, though. And that's why I just about lost my mind this morning. The morning Grandpa introduced a 10th cousin. I knew what was happening the second he stepped in the house. His face had this luminosity, this beatific glow of a zealot who thinks he has just crawled into God's right hand. "Miranda," she said dreamily. Buttery sunlight shafted over his face, erasing some of the wrinkles and intensifying that unsettling inner light. I looked down at his arms, expecting a baby, but no. He stepped aside, revealing a rail, thin girl about 13. Joints protruded from her bony limbs, which looked far too long for her painful small body. A tangle of filthy black hair fell past her shoulders, full of twigs and leaves, matted with streaks of dry mud, like she'd just crawled out of the forest. "Hello," I smiled. She stared back with empty, frantic eyes. Grandpa pushed the girl forward. She flinched at his touch and gave me a look I didn't understand. Wide-eyed and far too scared, almost wild. That was it. That was what bothered me so much. She seemed feral. "Meet your sister, Clara." Clara looked away and uttered a shrill moan. Grandpa gave me a meaningful look. "Miranda, why don't you make her some breakfast?" Clara did not want me to feed her. She squalled like a mountain lion. She tried to escape 6 times, broke Grandma's china cabinet, wrenched the door off the fridge. Finally, Grandpa got the oldest boy to restrain her while he tied her to a chair. It sounds barbaric, but it was how he handled the little one's tantrums. It was too much for Clara. She gave up and began to cry, a weird, shrill keen that made me shiver. Grandpa took me to my bedroom and closed the door. "What's wrong with her?" I asked immediately. "Why doesn't she talk?" "I'm going to tell you a secret. Not one word is to pass beyond this room. Understand?" I nodded. "You hurt your mother when you were born. It looked like she couldn't have any more children, but she did. She had Clara." Rage swept over his face. "She raised her all wrong. Abused her. That's awful. She refused to take care of Clara. That's why she's so dirty. That's why she can't talk. He leaned close. Your mother never taught her to speak. Just made her live outside for years on end. I thought of Clara's wild, unfocused eyes and filth-caked hair. I thought my heart would explode with rage and sorrow. Why? To hide her from me. He started to pace. My girls. I love them, but I'll never understand them. Like I'd hurt any of you. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I need you to take care of her. Teach her the things she needs to know. I have to go on a haul tomorrow. Dread unfurled my stomach, heavy as lead. But I don't know how to help her. Of course you do, she said dismissively. You're a proper mother. You raised your cousins right. You'll raise her right too. Tell you what, he gave me an encouraging smile. When I'll come back, I'll take you on a trip. Just you and me. No cousins. No responsibilities. That was that. He kept Clara restrained all day. She wasn't toilet trained, so I had to clean up after her. After dinner, he locked her in a spare room. She reeled and cried long after I'd settled in for bed. He left before dawn the next morning for his home. I got up to see him off like always. When I got back inside, I heard Clara still whimpering and crying. It made my heart ache. It was only 4:30. All the other kids were asleep, so I figured this would be a good time to let her out. Grandpa gave me handcuffs and a leash to use on her, but I went to her room empty-handed. She sat up when she saw me, looking like a deer in headlights. It's okay, I whispered. She tangled her fingers together and bleated. Come on, I want to take you out of here, but you have to be good, alright? She nodded. This sat oddly with me. If she'd never learned to talk, how did she understand? I took her hand. Together we trundled to the kitchen. I made bacon and eggs, which she refused to eat. In fact, she refused to eat just about everything. After a lot of trial and error, she finally accepted Rice Krispies, which we had always had on hand because it was Grandpa's favorite cereal. She ate 4 bowls, staring at me all the while. Her eyes still had a distant, unfocused quality. The kind of look Grandma had when she'd taken too many pills. When she finished, I immediately washed her bowl. Clara, why don't we? I turned around just as she ran out back. I bolted after her and stopped at the porch, looking around helplessly. It was dark. The sound of owls and night bugs filled the landscape. Cold wind rattled the leaves. I was afraid, but there was nothing else to do, so I ran. I quickly plunged past the tree line, shivering as the wood's damp chill enveloped me. The bracken crunched underfoot. Small animals scattered out of the way, and an owl chastised me from overhead. I caught a glimpse of Clara, though, through the trees. Her white nightdress rippled and danced like a phantom. I was fast, but she was faster. After a while, I couldn't do it anymore. I stumbled to a nearby tree and sat. A faint smear of white touched the eastern horizon. Tears threatened to spill. I was running out of time. If I didn't get back home soon, my cousins would know something was wrong. They'd figure out I'd lost Clara soon enough. One of them was bound to tell Grandpa. So I climbed to my feet and continued the search. My grandparents owned a vast tract of protected woodland. We weren't ever supposed to venture out alone. That morning was the first I'd seen of the forest. It was beautiful and breathtakingly eerie. Slope after slope, full of towering pines and twisted valleys, oaks with boughs fanning along the ground. Wonderfully majestic and chillingly impassive. Just before dawn, I realized I had no idea where I was, and no idea how to get back home. even if I found Clara, which was starting to seem more and more unlikely. How would I even get us home? Fear squirmed in my belly as the sun rose. Pale copper light shafted through the trees. It looked like a painting, a red gold field marked with unerringly symmetrical bars of dark pines. The sweetly dissonant chirp of birds filled the woods as red dawn mellowed to the golden morning. I labored up yet another slope. Sweat dripped down my face. My shirt clung to my back, simultaneously clammy and suffocating. Finally, I reached the top. A small valley spread before me, and in the middle of a plain choked with juniper, oaks, and orange poppies lay a white house. An ancient oak grew at the back, a great canopy draping the roof. Relief and hope twined through my chest. I hurtled down the slope. Dust and dried leaves flew past me, carrying the smell of fresh forest dirt and dewy sage. Then my momentum carried me to the doorway. Hanging from the open door were several heavy padlocks. They seemed so out of place. Looking at them gave me a chill. Otherwise, the house was breathtaking. Built from rough-hewn blocks of white stone that glittered like snow, small circles and flourishes gave it the look of a temple. It looked empty, so I stepped inside. Shadows clustered strangely in the corners. Several sets of shackles were secured to the walls. Across from me, I saw 5 narrow doors. I tried the middle door. It came open, sending clouds of dust and glistening cobweb into the air. Inside was a narrow compartment lined with shelves. Dirty laundry filled the floor. Small cloth bags were piled up on the shelves. I picked one up and looked inside. Rocks, rose quartz, iron pyrite, brittle bits of bismuth. The second bag held arrowheads. The third was full of costume jewelry, faded and broken, but meticulously clean. I dropped to my haunches to inspect the laundry, except it wasn't laundry, but for large bundles swaddled in dusty clothes. I saw wilted flowers and twig wreaths tucked into the fabric. I picked one up, marveling at its lightness, even though wrappings. It was obviously fragile. It felt like a baby doll. I could discern the limbs and head. A small pulse of excitement went through me. It would make a nice present for the younger girls. I pulled the swaddling away and froze. Buckled, discolored skin papered across the fragile skull. Sunken sockets bore the desiccated remains of eyes. A baby. A long-dead baby. I looked back at the closet. 3 other bundles wrapped in cotton and wildflowers. A deafening scream rang through the room. I spun around, dropping the course. Clara flew across the room and tackled me to the ground. My head cracked against the floor. Red stars rocketing across my vision as Clara tangled her fingers in my hair and wrenched, ripping entire locks out by root. I trapped her between my legs and rolled over and pinning her down. She clawed my face. I caught both her hands and pinned those too. She took a deep breath and screamed again. Her mouth revealed a swollen, cauterized stub where her tongue should have been. My gorge rose. I looked up, focusing on anything and everything else, and saw a massive smear of blood on the opposite end of the room. Okay, real quick. Okay. I'm gonna take a break from that and look at the cute, look at this. Look at him. Look, he's so adorable. I just wanna pet him. And the little baby, oh, you look sad. You look sad and you wanna make him happy. And then there's this, and this makes me sad, and I want him to make me happy. Baby pig, that's adorable. Same with the baby porcupine. Okay. Oh, it's so adorable. Okay, I think I'm ready. Oh, wait a minute. Nope. Okay. Alright, now I'm ready. I'm gonna keep this one up though, just in case. Alright. Clara, she kept shrieking. My head rang and my ears buzzed. Clara, I know it's wrong, but I slapped her. That did the trick. She fell silent, stunned and whimpering. Clara, do you know what happened? She immediately dissolved into tears. I rocked back on my haunches and held her for a long time. When she cried herself out, she threw open all the closet doors. Each was full of cheap and ephemera, twig crowns, broken toys, threadbare clothing and rocks, and dried flowers. Two of the closets held a cache of dead infants. Seeing them made Clara cry again. She rocked them as she sobbed, kissing each one on the forehead before tenderly rewrapping them and setting them back in their cupboards. Then she led me outside. Behind the temple lay a field of flowers, undisturbed except for a large mound of dark earth. Looked out of place, a relic of a darker world dropped in the midst of a glorious spring. Oh my god, I think... Okay. Where are we at? Alright, we're here. Oh, we can finish this up. Sometimes something had disturbed the base of the mound. An animal, perhaps, digging for shelter. A small pale object lay in the shallow hole. I drew closer as Clara continued to cry. A hand, frail and wet with rot, shining with a melange of green and brown and moldy gray. I told Clara to find the nearest house. One, of course, that didn't belong to my grandfather. She knew the landscape like the back of her hand, and took me to a small cottage, maybe 3 miles from the temple. We called the police and waited. None of our mothers abandoned us. My grandfather kept them in the woods as breeding stock. My grandmother was infertile. He didn't believe in divorce, but he also believed that childbearing was the only path to salvation. Somehow, this was his solution. None of the women were related to him, as far as I know. No one ever found out who they were. I hope that changes. Many of their babies died in childbirth. A few were smothered to hide them from my grandfather. Clara's existence was somehow concealed, passed off as stillbirth and hidden for 13 years, until my grandfather stumbled upon her in the forest. As a punishment for this deception, he killed them all. He had 6 girls living at that house now, more than enough to replace them. I was supposed to be the first. If it hadn't been for Claire, Grandpa would have locked me up in that little white temple. Soon enough, I think that's what he meant when he said he'd take me on a private trip. He died in prison. My grandmother went to a nursing home. We all went to foster homes, of course. It wasn't easy for us. None of us had birth certificates or any record of existence, but we made it. It's been many years. I reconnected with most of my cousins. Clara never recovered, so I took care of her. But we all came out all right. I suppose that's the most we can ask for. Oh, that was messed up. Oh, dang. That is... Okay. I'm gonna check out The Woman, 2011. Might want to check that out. You know, looks pretty cool. Alright. But, I think I'm gonna end it here. I've been recording for a while. It's been like 40 minutes, I think. Maybe a little more. Been almost an hour. Jeez. Alright, well. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's been a while since I've uploaded. and I felt like it would just be fun to read some scary stuff. Just so you guys know, I read this entire thing, as you can see, like 11 to 12, Mother's Day, so, you know, get your parents, get your mama something nice, be nice to her, do something good for her, and I'm watching all this in the dark, or reading it all in the dark, which really makes me sad. I'm scared, so, you know. Yeah, anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you liked it, like it. If you didn't, tell us what we can do better in the comments. And, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Maybe even consider subscribing. See you in the next one. Bye.